As I record this, it's June 5th, 2026. 3 days ago, on June 2nd, Kawasaki released an official announcement that the Ninja 300 is back in the US. Welcome to the channel. Like, subscribe, and let's take a look at this one. Well, here it is. The official announcement from Kawasaki that the Ninja 300 is officially here in the United States. Some information came out at the end of last year, but this seals it. I actually just kind of stumbled across the bike on the Kawasaki website as I was editing my latest college transportation series a couple of nights ago. Last night, I spent a lot of time trying to find one of these bikes somewhere on shore. I was finally able to find one at the Moto member dealership in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And that's the only one I could find. Kind of reminds me of when this Ninja 500 that I'm riding here was released back in 2024. When we were trying to get one in May and June so that we'd have it in time for my son to ride, we couldn't find any. We wanted to get him a few weeks of riding before he went back to school in Athens, but there were none to be found, not just in Atlanta, but like in the state of Georgia or Alabama or Florida. I mean, I was looking all over the place. Finally, first part of July, I finally managed to find one just outside of Nashville. Now, that's about a 5-hour drive for us, but that's what we did to go get that bike. Now, within a few months, they were in dealerships all around Atlanta, but in May and June, not a big distribution yet. I'm wondering if we're going to see kind of the same thing with the 300, and if so, that means that by August, September, maybe October, we should start seeing these things proliferate in dealers all around us. Now, in case someone's been living under a rock or outside the motorcycle community, kind of same thing, for the past decade, the Ninja 300 was widely considered to be like the best beginner bike in the world. Now, it was replaced in the United States in 2018 by the Ninja 400, which was itself then considered to be one of the best beginner bikes in the world. And then it was replaced in 2024 by this Ninja 500. And now Kawasaki is bringing back the Ninja 300. I've heard it's the exact same price it sold for in 2017 at $4,999, except now it also includes ABS brakes. So why is Kawasaki bringing this back now? I mean, I was kind of wondering, and then I started looking at it a little closer. And the more I look at it, the more I think this looks to be a pretty smart move. Kind of like the KLE 500, they're not trying for home runs, they're looking for base hits. And that's kind of why Kawasaki surpassed Honda as the top manufacturer in sales in the United States. And the Ninja 300, yeah, that's about as base hit as you can get. Now, first, we need to understand that these bikes, these 300s, were not discontinued worldwide. They've continued to be sold outside the United States. So this is not a situation where Kawasaki is having to tool up again to produce a bike they stopped making years ago. This is just increasing and expanding production and distribution. That means no real R&D work is needed, just a little paperwork. So far as the bike itself is concerned, from what I can see in the pictures, it looks almost exactly like the one produced in 2017, except now it has ABS. I find nothing about the lights being LED, and from the pictures, I'm just assuming they're incandescent. But if I'm shopping for a bike, I'm not kicking this bike out of consideration just because it doesn't have LED lights. It has an analog style tachometer and multifunction LCD screen, no TFT, but the base Ninja 500 uses an LCD screen instead of a TFT. So, yeah, no surprises there. So, why is Kawasaki bringing back a bike they removed from the market 8 years ago? I can only offer my conjecture, which is admittedly completely unqualified, but I think it's brilliant. I mean, we'll look at the reasons that I think, and there's no one reason that I think is sufficient on its own, but when you start stacking them on top of each other, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. First of all, consider that small sport bikes are undergoing a resurgence in the United States. While other segments of motorcycling are declining, small displacement sport bike sales are way up. I mean, we're talking double digits way up, like somewhere around a 13% increase in 2025. And that's at a time when overall motorcycle sales are decreasing. That's huge. Why is this segment increasing? Well, I mean, in addition to being beginner friendly and a lot of fun to ride, they're inexpensive. The financial picture in the United States is quite different now from what it was even in 2017 when the 300 was discontinued. Tighter pocketbooks make for more sales of cheaper bikes. Is that enough to justify creating a new bike for the market? Probably not. If you're starting from scratch and having to do all the R&D to create a new 300cc category bike, you're behind the 8 ball, especially because Yamaha still has its R3 out there, and CF Moto introduced their 300SS a few years back. But Kawasaki isn't starting from scratch. Not only are they producing this bike in other countries, but they have the Versys X300 for sale in the United States, which uses the same 296 parallel twin producing roughly 39 horsepower. That makes the paperwork for emissions a lot easier because you already got a configuration that passes. So for virtually no R&D, minimal red tape, all you have to really do is expand your production and distribution back to the States. It kind of seems like a no-brainer. One of my concerns was, won't it cannibalize the sales of the Ninja 500? But I don't think so. Had Kawasaki tried selling the 400 and 500 side by side, there's just not enough separation, especially since the 500 only has a 451cc engine. Likewise, putting the 300 and 400 side by side in dealerships in 2018 would also probably have resulted in them cannibalizing each other. But the difference between the 300 and 500 should result in the 300 being a net add instead of taking away 500 sales. Let's compare the two. For engine size, the 300 has a 296cc engine versus the 451 of the 500. The 300 has almost 39 horsepower versus 51 in the 500. The price, the 300's $4,999 versus $5,599 for the non-ABS 500 or $5,799 with it. So that's either a $600 or an $800 difference for the base model. And that's not even including if you want to go to one of the higher models for the 500. Now, from those numbers, it's not clear that the 300 will be additive instead of combative, but let's look at the competition. First, the Yamaha R3, which did not go up in size when the Ninja did in 2018. For engine size, Yamaha has a 321cc parallel twin compared to Kawasaki's 296. The R3 has 42 horsepower compared to the roughly 39 of the 300. The R3 costs $500 more at $5,499 compared to the $49.99 of the 300, which incidentally is the same price tag as the Yamaha MT-03. So Kawasaki is now bracketing the R3 by having the Ninja 300 sitting $500 below it, and the Ninja 500 base model either $100 or $300 above it, depending on whether you want ABS. Now, what about the CF Moto 300 SS? Let's take a look at that one. CF Moto has a 298cc single compared to the 296 parallel twin of the 300. That single only produces 29.5 horsepower compared to the 300's roughly 39 horsepower. The CF Moto is $400 less at $45.99 compared to $49.99. So almost 9 extra horsepower for $400. Yeah, I think Kawasaki has the 300 sitting at a price point poised to take a bit of the CF Moto sales and a bit of the R3 sales without significantly impacting their 500 sales. And Honda provided a little more elbow room when they discontinued selling the CBR 300R in the United States. My biggest question now, will Honda answer by bringing back their CBR 300R? Interesting time, my friends. Well, that's it for this week. Appreciate the view. Would appreciate a like and subscribe even more. Until next time, y'all. So long.